Director IIT Delhi, distinguished scientists, delegates, and policymakers, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to participate in the World Congress on Disaster Management. It is most timely topic and of immense relevance for the world in general and India in particular. The fifth WCDM rightly flags technology, finance, and capacity as three critical issues that hold the keys to the success of global development agenda. Disaster management is about protecting human lives and property. It is about protecting villages and cities, schools and hospitals, business and livelihoods today and in the future. It is about understanding and respecting the forces of nature and preparing accordingly. Managing the risks of disaster is one of the most challenging tasks under the rubric of sustainable development. Humankind has been dealing with hazards of nature since time immemorial and has acquired intimate knowledge of living and adapting with nature. These traditional and adaptive knowledge systems are being lost. The pattern and trend of natural hazards, particularly hydrometeorological hazards, are also changing due to the impacts of man-made climate change. Other vulnerabilities, unsafe housing and infrastructure, depleting forests and mangroves, socio-economic factors, and so on, are compounding the risks of disaster. Further, in a globalized, urbanized, and interconnected world, no part of the world can be safe unless every part is safe. Brothers and sisters, we live in a challenging geopolitical landscape where countries have to face traditional and non-traditional threats, including natural calamities, which include pandemics like COVID-19, which has wreaked havoc in the last 2 years. The global pandemic of COVID-19 has impacted on the prospects of implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. The impact of the pandemic on the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals agenda must be assessed comprehensively, and the lessons learned should be incorporated in global and national strategies for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Ladies and gentlemen, India has the willingness and the capability to act as a responsible partner. Despite enormous challenges and its own domestic requirements, India's engagement with the world and especially the Indian Ocean region has been robustly strong. As a pluralistic and open society, we have democratic sentiments and respect people's choices. In the wake of pandemic, India has developed a large capacity of production of COVID-19 vaccines, which has been deployed for the benefit of many countries around the world. Brothers and sisters, the frequency of disasters has seen a manifold increase in the last few years and is of relevance to us as an Indian Ocean country, as 60% of these disasters occur in our region. The scale and intensity of disasters are increasing, and disasters like cyclones, floods, drought, etc. are a grim reminder of this fact. It must be appreciated, and the scientists have corroborated through their evidence-based research that increasing frequencies and intensities of these extreme hydrometeorological hazards are due to climate change, to which the developed countries have disproportionately contributed. Now, research is pointing out many slow onset hazards like glacial melts, sea level rise, desertification, ocean acidification, and the salinization of soil due to climate changes may be reaching their tipping points to create new waves of unprecedented disasters that will have catastrophic consequences. India has announced bold decisions in this regard. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has presented 5 elements Panchamrit at COP26 to deal with this challenge. First, India will take its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030. Second, India will meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030. Third, India will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now till 2030. Fourth, by 2030, India will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by less than 45%. Lastly, and fifth, by the year 2070, India will achieve the target of net zero emission. Ladies and gentlemen, as scientists and disaster management experts, you are aware that many cutting-edge technologies are emerging in the fields of space, communication, bioengineering, biomedics, and artificial intelligence. These include precision tools and sensors that can revolutionize the way the risks of disasters are assessed and communicated through early warning. These tools can also help prevent or mitigate through various measures. Again, we have smart technologies for post-disaster recovery and reconstructions. The benefits of these technologies should be shared with all along with funding initiatives for capacity development for better application and use of these technologies in the local contexts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, within a span of 1.5 decades, developed a robust system to deal with disasters. We have developed legal, institutional, and policy frameworks for disaster management. We have in place space, aerial, and ground-based observation systems to assess the hazards of nature for improved risk governance. Effective early warning of meteorological disasters in general and cyclones in particular have been developed that help us to evacuate people to safe locations and save lives. We have initiated several structural and non-structural measures for risk prevention and mitigation through dedicated funds made available to our state government through institutionalized mechanisms. In this regard, National Institute of Disaster Management is playing a major role in capacity development across sectors. National Disaster Response Force has been set up as a professional force dedicated for the tasks of disaster preparedness and response. Ladies and gentlemen, India has a vision for the Indian Ocean, and it is encapsulated by the concept of Sagar, means security and growth for all in the region, articulated by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. Sagar has both various distinct and interrelated elements, such as deepening economic and security cooperation among the littoral states, enhancing capacities to safeguard land and maritime territories, working towards sustainable regional development, blue economy, and promoting collective action to deal with non-traditional threats like nature. Namaskar. Director IIT Delhi, distinguished scientists, delegates, and policymakers, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to participate in the World Congress on Disaster Management. It is most timely topic and of immense relevance for the world in general and India in particular. The 5th WCDM rightly flags technology, finance, and capacity as 3 critical issues that hold the keys to the success of global development agenda. Disaster management is about protecting human lives and property. It is about protecting villages and cities, schools and hospitals, business and livelihoods today and in the future. It is about understanding and respecting the forces of nature and preparing accordingly. Managing the risks of disaster is one of the most challenging tasks under the rubric of sustainable development. Humankind has been dealing with hazards of nature since time immemorial and has